smelled urine from time to time. I did.
Fields were around there.
Oh, that was
Cousin Keith was there, and he was
old.
Oh,
hey, to this, so
it was.
Oh yeah, and I'm almost sure yours was the theme parks. I think I probably been an old man.
Rhett built your house, and he
driving though, like folding. Oh, I'm going to mow the next strip, and I couldn't see the strip. I couldn't see where the grass had been.
Start over and build a new set so he could sell it
in a road. And
like something's wrong, right? Have you received really bad news? Is something going on?
Obvious
to us. Is that why you were helped? That was interesting. There was a challenge involved in that because people.
And they told you this on the
big groups of these tobacco leaves, and you stack them in this a metal rack, put the rack together, and then.
Men
like printed red lines.
Yeah, no, somebody had drawn like these new roads in out there in Lillington.
There was above your pay grade.
Oh, you think? I had barely swung,
and we did have a conversation about it.
But what's my job? And they say you're going.
You had to.
But seriously, I
call it spacing out. I worked for my uncle. Actually, my dad's side of apparatus that would like a rack.
Have way through.
Man. And we're taking you back to summers past. We are going.
And then at some point, somebody made the decision that, you just can't 6.5. I was already 6'5" when I got it because we talked about it years ago. And
400 old televisions on this private property. I mean, big guy.
The challenge.
Yeah, I just stopped. I mean,
how do you home? 2-bedroom.
People don't want to talk to you. They just want to get on the ride. The other ones.
But I think that is today I am really good at cutting equal-sized pieces of rope. If you ever need that.
And so I went speeding. I just happened to look over my shoulder,
But then what we were supposed to do is we were getting updates to
Ashley. He's like,
I mean, it's not a bad job.
On the lawnmower, I did not
say that it is not uncommon, especially.
I would drive there. And we would put you'd put the tobacco, just nice bite-sized chunks of hot dog.
That's somebody who's swallowing exciting stuff.
It was riveting.
Did you ever run into a full?
That's the last time I've cried. The vomit on boardwalk as an amusement park ride operator.
My dad, but I remember my dad out there with me with a push mower. We didn't have a riding lawnmower. We had a push mower.
They wouldn't like micturate in there or anything. I was saying, and it was a walk of shame. I was kicked off of my ride. Barns full of kid.
And if an older swarthy gentleman asked you to, well, there was one moment where I wanted to take over the job from a schedule that you had. You had all these markers besides just a birthday.
The nicotine, and I don't know what else from the tobacco starts to...
Standing there waiting for tobacco to be shipped to China.
We saw it in my eye.
We keep making YouTube videos. We keep doing ear biscuits. We don't...
I absolutely hate my job. And she was like, well, it just seems to me that you absolutely...
Room, and we had put it all together.
But there would be a group of people in his own bed.
It's a big government organization in...
He would give the bigger ones, blah, 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 blah,
well,
blah.
I think it's important to set the stage for people.
I have to think he would like...
were these huge 3-foot by 4-foot maps of the... I worked in tobacco fields.
I'll never...
Tell him to apply for a job up with us in our department.
We'll make his dreams come true.
We have and he just had a big warehouse, and it was H&H. It was him and his brother.
Then I'm so embarrassed I'm crying, and then, boy, this is funny. And 4484...
It was... On our way from
You didn't hear him?
No.
Okay, so this is what we've decided to do.
And, I actually found myself, Trent working for...
Off of everything.
Oh, gosh.
And it just so happened that there was a...
Push out every summer in the pavement management unit.
Pavement management.
So...
What does it feed it onto the all-on-one map?
No.
Like I just left an engineering job, and I'm back...
Is node... 4483 rumor going around, and it had been confirmed by several of...
On a foot pedal in order to prove to the ride that goes up the wick, and then it permeates into the house behind his house, right? And
it wasn't behind his house.
The lawns were immaculate. I was immaculate. A human anatomy.
Yeah. I'm not kidding.
Really?
I don't know how often this happened, but there was a room 6'5" at the time. So I'm a little over 6'6" now. Never saw a snake, but spent the summer squeezing around. Just did that on my own.
Nice.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Mr. Go back and work for Frank
that job. But I'll tell you right now, it turned out to be one of the
in the movies at least.
This particular
Ain't gonna say nothing to me about falling it down. I don't care, man. In North Carolina, most of the South, you have the foundation of your house for like a trip, So
okay,
yeah, I had a good time.
but we're not above trying that. I'm not going to say it's not going to come to that. That's helpful. Also,
First of all, it was the most boring thing. It was worse than Wickman.
This?
No,
was it like this?
It was a little bit like they're responsible for cleaning it up, or is there like a dude, the vomit man?
Like, boom, I'm just giving it all I got. And Johnny had some chicken houses, and I worked around there.
Oh.
But here's what I'd say it weighed 500 pounds. One of these things. Pretty dangerous.
And you're in a cubicle. And what the pavement management, I know that's what a lot of the farmers were doing. But it's just interesting that
we're talking the ATVs and the four-wheelers out of private property. And you couldn't work in the heat of the day in these tobacco fields.
Where I was in corporate America, so to speak.
So that the ATVs don't get on the Carolina Power and Light. I forgot about. One memorable day, I was assigned to this spin ride. It's pretty cool to think.
In which tobacco was. There's this rope wick that goes into the thing. Navy Crown Victoria cars with yellow tags.
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't really corporate, it was a government.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he was saying, it was like, I don't know what we did.
I'm like, yeah. She was like, no, what? You seem... I'm kind of nervous because, like I said, I don't like to compete. And, like, I was...
And get the liquid. Especially if they're...
Were they cool people?
Just throw it into the foundation. Because they know that some dillweed... That's when you got to perk up a little bit. Oh, when I went to Disney World recently...
Ooh, circling going.
But, yeah, height, actually. No, I was put fourth. I skipped a grade because of height. Now differently. This and you do this and all right, now let's lift it up and talk to myself.
But I got to break it to you. We don't.
I'm thinking about getting a summer job on the side now. Now that we've talked about this,
let's do it, man. You take your foot off the
running, like Carl Lewis to Daddy's house.
You start at the bottom.
Wrong, but this,
go up this ladder. And it went into the spring. My brain would disengage, so I had these extended brain farts. There would be
NC State University that come in and help.
I would drive over there, but at the crack of dawn, be like 5:30 in the morning, because today we've got some of your questions.
Remember Hartman and Hartman?
Neighborhood to mow. He negotiated the price and everything for me.
Back home, they've been replaced. The wood. Let's go. And we look at the blueprints, as we told you on the last episode, from weekly releases of new episodes.
We're in North Carolina. She's like, for the day.
So work at the DOT.
Tag Ear Biscuits, us, and it's going to sound like potentially a really fun, maybe one of the best summer jobs. I'd like to have liquids.
But this was the kind of job that the entire state. Now, I'm not kidding.
Boy. A good old episode of
People have basements, and I don't know what it's like where you come from, but your tax dollars at work.
I was on an odometer spinner. What's the job that you told me that barn, and then I would be at the barn cutting wicks?
There's not even a twist. It's just it's a cut and a underneath the house, right? Now, as the house is being built,
in the summer, we were on opposite ends of Bowie's Creek. We would ride our bikes to the middle of me, just like normal.
$1 an hour each. It wasn't 50 cents each. It was $1.
And we said, back out there in the shirt.
Oh, wow.
Scooping out with a glove, I'll say. I have to.
Out and drive around the belt line. Perspective.
But other than that, it was, hey, give me my dot. But it's perspective, I didn't have
mode. He got so mad at me. He says, "You can't see where the grass." They are still available. However, difficult job keeping a certain number of Crown Vic
happens, and then so I go back out and I take a little bit more off, and then I go back in there, and it's still not right. And eventually they
slated to be the man. Other people who were college students. It was past Coates on 27 on the way to Benson. But that's the only time we ever worked together. And sounds are talking. The manhandler. We should be working more efficiently.
Johnny, I said, he's having. So it's kind of this.
We're gonna build things. We're gonna change the world, and
with this
I just remember how like not present I was, and so I was just kind of whatever's going to happen with it.
Or cleaning up. It gets really frustrating. It has to go to the hand signals. And I remember this one time, Australia, just get on another form of transportation. But they won't smell good.
Because I was a wick man.
Because you can't. Frustrating. Oh, okay.
And it's going to be the subject.
You count down from 3, and then we're going to go, and I'm going to show him what's what. There's people who pick the bottom... at appropriate times, you type thing and then pour the liquid in there.
No. I was too young. I knew with the job that you're going to do in your life, your career. And
so repetitive and...
have an informed opinion when I hear that.
Of the teacups. And, we stopped for a break and
my mom had to cut the rope and fold it and stick it into the Disney World. Now, if you had to just do it and do it right and do it well and take some pride in it.
Around his neighbor, I worked in tobacco for a summer. In college, I spent one summer. What?
And he's got on
most difficult Uncle Keith that I'd rather not.
And he never came back there.
I mean, there were some magazines stuffed in the stop the ride. People start vomiting. You take your foot off the pedal.
So be it.
But it had a couple of those spinny rides. And of course, you had 94.
It's just, we got to a place where...
One of my first jobs...
Cake, it's like, I don't know why this wasn't something that... I mean, in the first conversation, we're going all the way back to... This is...
So...
Always off somewhere and just didn't care about money. I do think that a few of the people in our door maps...
You're kidding me.
I was doing the rest of the time?
On November 8th, Atlantic City.
Low closet. And I think that's just par for the course. Something had to get closed, and it was quiet in there, and the light was off. It meant that she was sleeping under the desk. They said,
again, because, hey, you're already here.
Yeah, you don't even have to go back.
Before we do, we just shattered glass that would be thick, and I had to pick it all up using, trash pick. And I'm Link. This week at the Round Table of Dim Light. Once this is stacked, I'm going to help you pick this up. Cleared the air, and it was a good experience.
I need you to use your word. It was like, I'm not from around here. I'm from The Simpsons.
Hey, boys, would you like to...
I had those dirt boogers. You know what I'm saying?
Just going to take it.
It's the road. So, I don't... They're
a decorative door.
One of the bedrooms ended up with a very shallow part of being mind-blowing.
Yeah, and it's extremely frustrating for the...
Keep going. Keep running. And I was like...
Walk-in closet became a broom closet.
Screenplay that we were trying to write. Gutless Wonders.
You were a competitive type.
Not to get ran into the guy who was the head of this division.
Push it all the way to the back of the barn, which is basically a mess. It turns out that, I would eventually figure it out and I would do the right thing. But when I was in, you would cure it. It goes in green. It comes out brown and cured.
Ready for job. And Trent said, no, you know what we're doing this summer? Me and you, it's been 15 years ago, 15 of us doing it. On his face, as you're
out,
extended brain fart, with 9.9% chance that the job that you're about to go do this summer.
And by this time, I've cut too much off. I got to start over. I go back out for a third time, and then I ran the grok.
We ran the grok back then. He's probably 40 years old,
and it's still spinning.
Oh gosh! And then when he gets on somebody else, they vomit.
No, the family for one summer. They had trash receptacle. I mean, they. Shelf, and then you would slide the rack. Oh yeah.
So every summer while I was in school and
I was kind of laughing at myself, and
a lot of properties and was building a lot of homes. The government issue car, the solstice thing is overrated. That happens half
the glass
stuff, and maybe I think it's just something you have to kind of come into. That's like the government issue car. Of course, we were good friends with his son Trent, the people that I work with, that occasionally her door would close.
It doesn't sound like a job at all.
I made some good friends.
Sounds like you were on a break.
But and then me for
you have to
my first up under houses, and they were like, you got to what
property. So for the rest of the summer, I wrote
office, and you can kind of get under the desk there and sleep.
I left and went back to where the people having a good time.
But that's the art. That's the art
to ask the question and discuss. How do you survive? I'm like, okay, and so we go out to the dirt road in front of the barn that we were to my ride, which is stupid.
On the vehicles,
please.
And so they were like, go.
I'll sort some baseball cards. Yeah, I remember that's all you told me about was it was like a hot girl, definitely had an entrepreneurial with torches. Boy, you want a job?
Well, he looked like a character off of The Simpsons, you know.
And he was, which was a summer job, but people that would pick the tobacco leaves.
Voice was changing and cracking and those kinds of things. There was all kinds of physical signs of vision. We're doing some other things, but most of us
circling intersections and writing a number beside it.
And onto a desk. Somebody on a four-wheeler who wanted in. If I can't be a kid anymore, you got to go get a job. You got to.
So you have certain points in the process where you would engage, and then the rest of the time it was cruel and it was.
Trent was off doing stuff on the rental. The kind of person you want to run into, not soccer board.
Leaps for joy. He's like, I need you to go with my brother.
Named Rhett is going to be personally responsible for picking up every single piece of trash. For me, it was just, you've got to save up for a Nintendo. Be the first one back for lunch. And then, in order to justify us keep it
from interviewing a hot dog stand right next door, ass on the front of these televisions was spinning so fast. I guess I was in brain fart mode, but I would ear Biscuits, click on the playlist on the right.
To watch more of our daily show, Good Mythical Morning, click the playlist. Thanks for being your mythical best.
It's like, Link, thank you for taking Will's position here. I mean, my business.
Yeah, just driving.
Touch the
people legitimately. You turn like 12 and they're like, you got to bring home the bacon, you know.
Voices?
Oh, the voices in your head.
And I don't know why.
Traditionally,
whether you're in school or not,
even if you're in year-round or is trying to work on a problem, I always think,
no, you got it. I really need this corner cut off, and then the point.
3 feet by 4 feet. This is a large map that barely fits.
Drive a summer job. Like grade school and high school kids would come in for like different camps.
I or anybody else who's in the room doesn't know what you're talking.
That's my defining summer job moment. And yeah, now you can finish your application. Mindless.
What were you thinking about those days? A hammer. And so, I'm not. It almost seems like
stress level, but the funny thing, I worked for him for all those summers, and it was fine except for the point. Well, if you're talking about mowing lawns, yeah, that was my first job. I worked for my family, and I worked for Will Thomas's family.
1998. I'm sure it wasn't. It is. But it wasn't an outside job. It's been mowed.
Usain Bolt, Bo, leaving the line.
Doing 3 throwback episodes this week, next week, and the week after that.
Or do nothing and get paid.
No, I say
pick this very heavy rack up. I would say you had to pick up the rack. So every day you would come in and...
Assuming that we are not going to have summer jobs anymore, I mean, maybe after to be the guy who... we have this fleet of cars. Crown Victorias, by the way.
By talking about our own, no good can come from that.
Okay.
Yes, we did it.
In rural North Carolina,
tobacco is the cash crop.
And it's everywhere. I mean, where?
Right, and I
could do his job just for.
Dedic, it's kind of our halfway point, roughly our meeting spot when riding our bike
to be going
to or red.
To hear this, the construction workers usually just
could help me understand what I need. And when the face it turns blue and the cheeks are getting big,
I'll pay you to sort baseball cards. And I do think this is pre-H&M. You just don't remember.
And girlfriends, potentially.
You're thinking about
on November 9th and November.
I would package it up and put it into the convenient child labor laws because we were probably 12, 13 years.
He's going to vomit.
But you told me about the chicken pit.
Oh yeah, they had I was around them, but the tobacco
just shooting the breeze. Yes, just sitting there talking to these other guys.
Never forget. I mean, you had to invent things. I'll do this, right? Bikes to meet up. We'd meet there. We'd play pinball. There was a Gilligan's Island pinball.
So let me. It's like that's what we used to say to. We say that to my children now. Use your words.
A day, you twisting wicks. You think?
But go back one point. We got to the end of the
ring. Listen to it. I think it'd be good to go back and listen to it
until we reunited.
Yeah, that was
how old?
Well, I was 16 because I would drive.
I was amazed, and I'll say that
uppers and just with my hands, cut my hands a lot, right, on that
tree, and we would eat the figs off of this fig tree.
Huh.
So if you live between of road throughout the state, needed maintenance.
Of course.
I think this is the first job ever. And then there's somebody who's like, it's technically not summer yet.
We're eating our oatmeal cookies and
it was like a 10-mile trip, and you would pass. Now, wouldn't trade it for anything. Love what we do. But it's definitely selfish pursuit when I first decided I'm going to do this summer job
or
thing.
Pay for the gas for
how to figure out where to mow next. He's like, okay, now see, I mowed right here, and now
couldn't get him to go through there. I had to scoop him out. Lens.
Just paint a picture here.
Like literally the space.
Think about it. We could have been in danger. And we didn't. No adults knew where we were.
Need you here at the pig.
So there were tobacco fields everywhere. No, she's just
sleeping.
She's laying down on the floor. I mean, she's in a kind of a small. But anyway, yeah, that's the first actual work I ever did for money.
My uncle would be supervising. My cousin would be there. Ashley, a couple more days. For a couple of days.
You've been.
Dust boogers.
You just been. If I had to go back and do one of those jobs. But tobacco. Now, that's not the case. It's going.
A reminiscing episode based on the fact that a mile. Let us know what you think about this particular episode. Bridge the gap between my career transition. But there
will have absolutely nothing to do. Go out. I would take the Ford F-150 or the Crown Vic along with another guy, and we would just drive.
This expanded quickly. I had to drive.
Political. But when I hear that the government is attacking a problem, cigarettes the way a frog would smoke cigarettes,
right,
like through the skin.
Right. Doing some more intricate
tobacco. I went to the emergency room. I lost a finger.
No, as you can see.
And we were well enough to know that this was not unexpected behavior. A number of students there was a guy who was orienting everybody to one of the things. It was like the Haunted Mansion or whatever. And a rope and making a wick. And expected me to understand, I want you to take this specific color in the story. First of all, I worked there for 3 summers.
Front of the trip. He would communicate all of that.
A couple hundred more today.
So did he fire you? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, it about to start your summer job. I think the thing is that
it's what you make it.
There's a 99 chicken houses.
Well, I didn't work in the chicken house.
Did he ever
didn't say a word.
Talk about it?
Contact with your skin for a prolonged period. Never stop learning. It hurts my heart to hear you say miserable existence.
There's cute girls that wore a hard hat. It was an office job. It was a desk job.
Farm. And my heart
you can get away with this.
Did I seem apologetic to meet him that day? And
because you don't want to get sent home from the boardwalk. You don't want you're having a good time.
Everyone else
same don't have the on and off again schedule that you have. Before you become an adult.
Oh, that was the point. Sure, save the point to the end. That's how you eat a hot dog. You just bite. And
those are great for picking tobacco.
And he made fun of me for being a soccer player.
Run to daddy.
Attitude, kind of from the top down. Do my job with my family, and make some scratches and half-inch thick or more.
Repository
had a rolled up garden hose. So this dude, and then you realize I'm going to start looking at these people's faces whenever they come around.
Summer rolls around, and what is it? It's just more of the same. We just keep on trucking.
My dominant summer.
I had to take part in a cultural moment in history.
Yeah, it is. Wrap it around trees where people were taking four-wheelers into. Tour Mythicality is going to Ontario that summer. So Will's like, hey, can you...
How bad is it and how important is it? On the left.
And don't forget to click the circular icon. Or my $5.
And we only did
this. So I was getting nervous. I was like, man, I guess I was miserable. I hated it. I would just stare off into the distance. And one day my supervisor comes.
Dumpster that was still on the site that they could have been using the whole time, but they didn't.
Oh.
And then I would roll out
to the frustration. Probably deserved most.
After my sophomore year, and just gone right back to it.
No, we didn't have any altercation.
Really quickly, early on, every day. And
it was tobacco.
Yeah.
So you loaded all the tobacco into this
oven. It's like making
oven,
beef jerky, but it's
basically.
Tobacco. Dropped me off there because I think I was 14.
But what did you do?
Different people. Another thing that happened was
water under the bridge.
Because if you're like, okay, this certain section from node,
you had to order them by number to be able to sell a complete set. And that's what he said. Well, do you want to in the middle of Buies Creek? And there was a little grocery store was known for their air fresheners. And when I say air fresheners, it's basically just determining. My dad, I was a full-grown adult.
Oh, man.
Their transition thing happening. There was this one summer where and it only
H&H.
on to subscribe, but we had to.
One of our best friends did all kinds of stuff with Trent.
Would kick dirt in his face.
Well, maybe if some dirt accidentally gets...
I'll work then, so he would teach me how to do the top.
And now I'm going to nail it into the foundation. You know, there is one other job.
And boom, I just take off like
as a section of road, and then it's prioritized.
So if you missed... Okay.
That we'll come back to.
I don't remember exactly what happened. We did talk. You will be, if you haven't listened to it, it'll be in the front yard. Yeah. I blew it.
Well,
Would you like to make
my house driving to high school here is that neither one of we were just kind of, this closet is about 12 inches deep.
Did you ride in the
every state and in North Carolina just said this just to us in this group.
And at what point did it all fall in on itself?
A bunch of cigarettes.
I just want to say, hey, if you still want to come to Australia to see us, get on a plane.
It was on the way to Benson or building something.
And there's like, and you did this like 8 hours.
Just followed through. These products, what Apple Podcasts or anywhere else podcasts are available. I show up my first day, and and maybe to this day.
Like it's like he would be telling me to do something, and then all of a sudden, and they had a lot of pig houses. What are they called? I became known as but it was like it was kind of harsh and room.
Well, and I remember him saying, I'm going to be working for my dad this summer,
and I was going to cut the tile again. And
summer we didn't spend a lot of time together.
Okay,
that was a difficult.
That's what happens. But anyway, I could beat you. You had to do things to invent ways to unbrain fart yourself.
Lillington, North Carolina, though it's not. The rules are different.
And one day,
my brother's older, so he was the first one.
The water pressure, like I was really trying to get it to go down. I mean, what did you think? I'm sorry, this ride is now closed. I put up the sign. All the people in line go away.
One time we went in there and she
was hiding.
Make some money. Now, luckily for me, it was as I relate to my kids because I think we just can't see kids.
People looking.
I don't think.
And I'm not the can press the go button and the stop button.
Safety mechanism.
Right. They just don't.
Okay.
Unless it's like a teaser.
Welcome to Ear Biscuits. I'm driving the cars around.
Thought I had a glove. That's all I was thinking about was, okay, if I work in this pig farm, am I going to have to do this?
H&H, and I'm going to be like, hey, Wickman's.
Now, I should say
properties. So that's...
Yeah, it's one of my big... You end up picking all the leaves off the tobacco stalks, but you do it over time when they're red.
Yeah, and literally the closet gave. There would be red lines on the maps of like new...
For your car type of a scenario.
Yeah, but my first job was of stories, maybe a podcast that you have years from now.
Frankie being so well off as a hot dog chunks.
I would just say, if there's any way at all possible.
Dad, he did work.
The people, you want somebody who's operating fields with none on the Beltline, and maybe
worked with them at farming tobacco.
Oh, apparently when their door was closed, son's majoring in civil engineering was like, well, tell him to...
The bottom side. So you gotta be a certain age. And
to show me out there, and it was on a foundation out on...
Always...
would do anything. He was a very creepy dude. Threw some paper.
And then the liquid goes...
Keys from the lounge.
But summer jobs. Yes.
He had a construction business, and then he had a lot of rental properties. Somewhere on a computer it was being done. It was being...
Streak there, and it, war. Mm-hmm. But then they would dump him out, and so it would be...
Every single year.
First day, I went and met his paper
top. I'm in high school, new experience, and then in between each year, you had summer vacation, nothing but tobacco in them. Nothing.
Ourselves... That's right. Your guests are us.
Well, I feel like
I want to order baseball cards. Literally, just take piles of baseball cards, and anything to do. Can I come back and help you? And I can't do this. How fast? And so there was an art.
His dad, he's not going to make him do that much. I'm in on this.
In the sand and falling flat on his Bowie's Creek for the rest of the day. But we got to know the guy,
literally,
so to speak. And I was smell. But it would be
fresheners. I mean, like a bottle with
most of his life. Even now, he is a house painter.
And he says, okay, I've got the blueprint, probably a violation of this summer. I'm in on that. And then
basically, before we got summer jobs, and
that is the only job that I can think of on retirement. There'll be like I'm going to go back.
Like Fred.
I'm going to go back to 18 Lillington, North Carolina.
I don't want to get on the ride anyway at this point. And then I have to get the garden hose and just start around for your particular place. Okay, you order them by number up and
we're gonna need
beard, and he comes out front and he meets me. Really nice guy.
Totally dirty at the end of the day. It's one of those days where every single day I came home, like, wait, we'll come back because there's another job that you had that you forgot about. Probably thinking about the same thing.
That's what we were doing. And he put us in, and then one summer, my dad worked with them, and that meant that I also, the brain farts. That we didn't, did you do that?
No, I did not count traffic. But what they said is,
pedal, and it would take a while for it to come to rest because everything.
You didn't, but there's no like epic.
I called up my dad, and I was like, Dad, I just don't have, I was a grown man with a wife, and so what has happened is they were beginning to send a lot of it over to China where everybody was smoking in China. You say things like, summer's here because you've done, I gotta say we have a great job, pieces of rope. I'll be back in 90 seconds and I'll have them. Scenario.
Yeah,
we totally illegal.
I mean, on some land that someone had, and there was only thing I remember is there was a fig tree.
I mean, a set could have 150 cards, and then you would decide the lawnmower to sit on. Not the...
Gosh, and he's the one who issues
that you have to crawl in under a house.
Yes.
Hence crawl space.
Yeah, so in North Carolina, very few
would cure is to do in order to occupy yourself, and...
but we moved on to other things. Those two are homes that we just finished. No contact with the liquids. I was a wick freshener liquid in it, and then a rope wick. You know those old, and you've got this 2 to 4 foot.
It is a genetic thing. At a certain stress
level.
Disorder
is probably the correct area. So there's not a predetermined length of ride.
There is a predetermined length of ride, but...
And so that's classified. And it's just like...
I go down one time and clean up all this trash off of the land, and someone had dumped tiles to fit.
Are out there listening, maybe you're...
only wore shorts and like Teva sandals. 2 inches in diameter, and we
were just like, this guy that we buy Clearly Canadian from and play the pinball machine in this little... Biscuits, I'm Red. Hartman to come in there, and he actually he sounded like he was...
It was vomiting.
Well, that's how frogs do tobacco. They just get up next to a tobacco leaf.
They do tobacco. Think about the grok. Meaning, I had to garden hose everything out, and then I was left with... And man, so I was always painting with my dad, and it just wasn't for me.
Wasn't like I was being sent out to make money. Priority of roads, right? And so there's a few things that contributed to priority.
Really? It was a broom closet.
Yeah. But there's no contract, and it was...
And see us. Tickets are still available. Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. Really?
Under her desk. Some golfing event or something.
It's very frustrating because my dad would do this thing to where he wouldn't... You worked one summer...
I had a pretty epic job. I did. I had...
With the 4-year-olds, are you going to be on the imitation teacup spinny things? Kind of like a spice.
Don't hesitate. Run the race. And when he falls down on his face after taking Wesley...
Spread out all these baseball cards on a pool table?
About it,
people eat and then get sick, but because the diameter of the hot dog is slightly larger than the diameter...
On their person when they finish their meal from McDonald's, or they finish their... 2 asked on Twitter, is lawn mowing a good job for a first job when young? Made you cry.
And I was so frustrated that I was like crying.
This is one of the ones that we threw in there.
Well, my papa Lincoln, he got me lawns. He's living, but he's fine.
He's not an Ear Biscuits list. I'm one of them.
And I'm the other one. It's just us this week. It's another digital recipe.
Exactly the same thing that he's been saying all day. But
it was fresh.
A little brown bottle, and then
cabling that was about.
There was just something about that.
And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, why don't you just go Hobbs? Summer experiences when it relates to occupational...
Yeah, all it is there's some perfume inside of a bottle. Like a little...
Some scratch.
It was Krusty the Clown. No. And he did say, "Hey, guys, your attitude really improved." It seems to me like the kind of thing that you would have just brushed off and just for snakes under there, because the black snakes and the copperheads will get up under there.
Because this is
on the road that your mom lives on now.
27. Oh, like my friends, some of them, they're like, well, you don't want to be brought to tears as a 20 metal box that had a fan at the back, and it was weak. I couldn't get out of bed.
You're kidding.
No.
How come I don't remember this?
Tobacco can get it as much, or if you're already in, it's 110 degrees. And but it was that awkward moment of like, I'm so upset, I'm crying, and then into the air.
It permeates into the air.
And so whenever we would take a break,
and
do you have more?
Oh yeah,
give me another one.
Yeah, so this is how I don't know how home building works now.
That's a pretty good net.
Right.
And his own like widescreen TV in his room, and his own bathroom.
Welcome to
anyone besides. Nope, it was me. And they had
sawdust
absolutely
link.
Absolutely. I mean, there's inherent.
How many people travel?
This is look on my face of total stupidity, hosing down.
Whatever it is that they have.
But a lot of good came from this here biscuit. I feel like I've reconnected with in Santa Cruz, California. Artiste, kind of a guy. He's got multiple employees working.
My favorite vehicles of all time. And your typical government.
My youth, and with my summertime feel.
Label pockets. Stay away from those.
Mm-hmm. Silently waiting to be introduced this week. Can you sense our guests here in our midst? They're all circling that you were teasing to.
Well, I was going to say,
school gets out, or you're not in school, and then the next day you get assigned to.
It's episode 30 of your biscuit, so you may have missed this one. This, and maybe many of you who
got upon because it was a
company. And it's like I
heard, I knew I was assigned to work with him because Will was gone.
But the way it worked,
you never even built with Legos as a kid.
No, I did a little bit of
Tinker
Lego.
Toy. I got kicked off of my ride.
Soccer boy had a bad attitude.
How am I going? Let's see. After I was. People are prone to get sick because our first the entrepreneurial spirit, the seed was cut some wicks, brother.
How you've only know what happened there. You were originally, and you're just like, and you do the same thing. And it's just our division had a fleet of cars, and then what they were used for is they would send people out.
Well, there's an operator there, and at that point, words would get jumping up, and you'd just be like, and then it would
result.
Baseball cards were a big deal. They were
in the amusement business. And I was thinking, this seems like a good deal you got.
Trent was cool because he had everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, physical, like we're moving something.
Big beard, big belly, big everything. He
be in the moment, Like if you have an opportunity to do something, just...
Okay, so use it. So this house is... think you need endurance and speed to run...
Anna.
Yeah.
And they'll all be the...
His uncle's name was Keith. Different guy, Mountain Dew, like we always do.
Like painters do. Someone is using the closet right now.
You in a sprint to Daddy's house. Your skin, and I felt deathly sick for about a back a grade because you couldn't see where the grass had.
I was held back for...
That gave us quite an education on... You don't remember?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of girls that I was, I liked to talk to.
It was like a family affair, and then a bunch of employees too would be at the barn, and you would. He always make fun of me. He didn't call me brain fart. He just called me soccer player. Like 3, 2, 1, and of course he would tell me how to cut the tiles down in Campbell University.
Right this time.
Thanks.
Summer vacation.
And can I take a second just to say,
take any job.
I was immaculate at this thing, man. It
wasn't from around there.
Oh, it's like this. Was he like?
This too. I'm probably getting people into trouble, but this is back
with like a crane type apparatus, like a small experiences throughout the years.
But we're not
summer while he's away.
Yeah,
that's not a bad job then.
No, after that you're like, well, I guess we save the point to the end. Then that seems pompous.
Yeah,
and. It was a map that had been printed on somewhere, a big-time roller coaster. It did a couple of epic, heat of...
Down in that drainage hole, and burning tobacco, because the process is...
so the Department of Transportation, I was in the...
he would come back there and yell at you?
He'd be like, Rhett.
Where the guy was beating him so bad that he just tapped himself out of mix it with this specific color.
You know what? That guy made me feel like that's one thing I might go back and do and be like, hold on, should we
would cut it?
I smell the South jobs
because they're so dizzy, and then you have to try to make the ride as long as No, I learned this myself.
Oh, really?
I learned it the hard. So that was a tough job. But the woods on the private land in order to keep.
There were a number of divisions, but it's a lot of cop cars, but it's also just a lot of government cars. You'll see in North Carolina, you see these.
Bring it up or continue to talk about it. But there was one line, line. He's like, all right. And he tells my cousin, married.
Underneath the whole house.
It's so the foundation is just a convenient. Still there.
Oh, yeah. You know, he's kind of swarthy. It was a temporary position. I think I was actually raising money for like a trip or something.
I'm just trying to be creative and telling you that we're it. This is us again.
But you can get
how's that note?
Fred says, all right, here are the blueprints. There's
not all the time.
No, I would say
houses. I worked like Uncle John. They should put that on the other side. Not only because stoplight on a lawnmower
and
every
you're
week.
12 years old.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's
more. Rotary
that you grew up in Buies Creek over there. So like, you know, that
bedroom carport
that
situation.
size home. By that point, a lot of people had stopped smoking. By the time,
fallen out of vogue a little bit,
and have embarrassed you a little bit in your voice.
Why are you off work? So,
got a bad attitude.
I had a bad attitude.
Great, because he's got all this money. So I'm just going to be. They're going to have some. They're going to put the shirt.
So this is there was a pervasive for him now, but for many summers. I was expected to be his right hand. Tobacco's wet, and it comes into contact.
To different places, different game. Personally, it was very forlorn because every time I see that guy, I wish I.
We weren't. Nothing ever happened.
No. Well,
guy with like the souped-up computer with the inch off and vomit in the bushes.
Now, when someone vomited on the rider, you personally were chemical, but you had like a new gray.
Only paint. I'd heard that they make
the summer solstice.
Summertime. Rubber gloves.
Did you have a special shirt on?
I'm pretty sure I had a rubber glove. I had on like a tropical theme. Anything to get out of there mentally.
And you did. Everyone around us was smoking. Well,
on July 27th, July 29th, and July 30th.
X to node Y.
Okay, you're losing me. Part of this house in Lillington.
Did you tell him?
And then we'd go on our summer escapades out around.
And thinking about Sarah John.
But it was just a mindless had it. Like, I could not get this piece of tile cut how he wanted it on more.
Well, that's convenient because Army Boy fit.
But after about 5...
Carl Lewis would have probably been the right reference at the time.
That you stopped learning. Give me a break.
That it meant, but I'm trying to somehow impart just job was working for the Department of Transportation.
This is before I had my driver's license. I drove that lawnmower. Jerry
Hartman's company.
Yeah, he's a civil engineer.
Another thing that happened is they said, I'm sure today this is the kind of thing that they just have the map of all.
Yeah. 57 asks, did you went back or forwards in grades? But you had to take my foot off of the pedal with enough time for it to stop. And so they can get
ready. My point was,
was a point there where I tweeted us, listen to you next week, or think about it after
a summer.
Yeah, like a pirate.
And you're doing this job. If I could go Pepsi bottle with a bunch of chaw juice in it, that's tobacco juice. They just no. Rhett doesn't get to touch the liquid. He's a wick man. He gets to touch the rope and the paper.
Me being a linebacker, I bet you right now needed to do. And I don't remember exactly what he said.
To happen.
So you're like, hold in the brain fart?
Job. I didn't get paid to mow the lawn from my family. I
was planted at that point.
We could have become expert baseball cards. I was going to say the summer solstice is not until June 21st or whatever. That's what it is this year.
Literally.
At least at the time.
And like I said, the chief of police negotiated all. Soccer, man.
Place underneath houses.
Turning tobacco. I mean, working with my dad, painting houses.
Right? You're like, oh, I'm in.
Go in the racks, and then you'd pick up the rack with the thing, and two people would
You put a 2x4 on the ground, and then you nail it together, and then you do this.
I'm going to brain fart again, and I would wake up, and everyone would be laughing.
I like to bring my map over next to their map.
They are moving quickly, so get them while the getting is good.
And now, enjoy.
20 large, that for I'd say a couple of weeks or so.
He's like, I'll give you $1 an hour.
A deep closet in one of the bedrooms in your home. I built that house.
It was just so frustrating in that particular moment, and I'm certain that I contributed.
I think it's you got
that. I became known as Mr. Actually, I want to, but then we would just have some discussions that now is what you bite it, swallow, swallow, swallow.
I do.
That's what he did.
But I'm well trained. I mean, so the way that you reference any section of road in North Carolina is you say it.
When it stopped, she got off, ran, and vomited your own hands.
I can.
Milestone is approaching. It's that time of year again, and the way that it works is you have to put your foot on.
It's probably all different.
Or just at least say, well, $1.50. There were different sections, like a display out there, and people, I guess
on this road, how bad the conditions are. Really, that's the main two things, right? For the family, I know a lot of people.
And I came to work the next day, and I was like, I'll have a bad attitude. I apologized, and
had just tried to pass off mowing our lawn to me and my brother. Yeah.
Now, so this was probably our first job.
Out on the trail.
Jonathan, my half brother, he was there. Did you have to go back and erase all the nodes and then renumber them? 44834. I'm on a trailer. They bring the trailer around to the
building, and you're going to clean out the cross. So it was so. Did he ever?
Bustry.
Well,
Someone's cursing that closet every day.
And it's
my cousin Keith, who was a lot older.
You from time to time.
Most people would load the lawnmower up on the back of a.
They just don't see things like where the grass has been mowed, even though it seems so.
Siren on the. I took his snapper lawnmower. Didn't say a word. You hate your job. Why don't you just go home? Diameter of the drain holes in the bottom. His face, like first step. Oh, kind of
cover from that.
Mercy. It's like that MMA fight that's going viral now.
Two signal talkers trying to communicate.
Is vomiting. I can't.
Own summer job.
Run them out of business or something.
Better know which one it is. People dying.
Head-on collisions.
It's either slow or stop, and or any other sign language. Huh?
Yeah.
Really.
At that point.
Picking but my first paid job was for Hartman and Hartman. He seemed so into it. And I was like,
one summer, but from
year-olds, and Mr. Fred, a 65-year-old man,
on the tobacco farm that
found in this cave,
some sort of tension,
and
little ladybugs, and 4-year-olds are peeing, and you got to use Windex and clean that.
In high school, I started working that summer, all of North Carolina, in a computer.
It wouldn't be English. And he would start pointing and gesture. Did you mix the liquids too?
No, I had no.
But not today.
Question how many wicks you've been through.
Pretty close. And this job that I had is
smaller home, and kind of about like the size of the house.
I can tell Will's, but whenever
around the Beltline, around Raleigh,
just
yeah. Again, just
like
shooting. When you give a 14-year-old the Wickman job. You can eat hot dogs really quickly.
I mean, I was spraying
But the next summer rolls around, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go.
Summer job. It was just, I wasn't a high school student. I wasn't a college student.
Your Biscuit in its entirety, and make sure you don't miss an episode. Follow the links in the description to subscribe on.
I lost heart. There's a new road that's been plotted or built. And then, of course, there would be all the other along for the ride, right? It was just like a brain fart waiting. Never wore an orange vest. I never a factor. When we got to a closet in Western Harnett High School on 27, and there's a fig tree.
But mentally, hand-wise, I've said a lot.
You inherit into cigarettes that hot dog pretty quickly. That's how you. Now
that sounds like fun.
That's a piece of data that goes into the system.
See, I still have on my finger.
Trucks in our fleet, we have to log a certain number of miles that you can just be engaged. Never challenge you again either.
Didn't say a word when he got up. There was no conversation. We just went back to work. Possible.
But cut it short, maybe.
Cut it short if somebody. Biscuits and a lot. I really tried. I really tried. But I mean, I think a few, and then we've structured this episode to be more of Carpenter and Ty. No, I'm not apologizing to you, loyal listeners. I'm everything, but that was absolutely embarrassing.
The three of us are framing a home. Go to tourofmythicality.com where you can buy those tickets.
Nodes. Married. There was like this career
Only conversation. There's not a whole lot that can be communicated unless you actually know American Sign Language. About learning?
That's what they were saying just now. The voice.
He's probably going to pay us.
Our job, and I worked at the.
Did that?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think I learned it. I do think I wasn't going to make fun of him.
Oh yeah, it was like
give directives like a mime.
Cigarettes.
So then you can put it in some cigs, but and I was like, well, I live around. And we would drive for like 4 hours, and I would just fall asleep in the passenger seat, and we get
short baseball cards for $1 an hour in the back room of a creepy grocery store. Say no. With hand signals.
With hand signals.
And grunts.
Just because to secure lands for...
And this is like a ranch-style home. So they expanded our different intersections, and you count traffic.
That was not a good job either.
Oh, but in outside of Bowie's Creek, North Carolina.
It was a clandestine operation. Like he had a big warehouse.
Okay, that's a real job.
Now I'm talking, and we call it
cups.
It was kind of like teacups, but they couldn't say that because, well,
teacups are patented.
Walt Disney.
And I don't know if these were then going to be incorporated into like the new sort of a bigwig in the Lillington area. And a computer somewhere, but I never saw the computer. All I saw,
respectively,
it was just I
was a moving blade for heaven's sakes. So you shouldn't be too young. You got to know which. $15.
That was pretty good back in those days.
Yeah, on everything. Hose in the, and then I
and no one ever really came to check and see what we were doing. It was
wasn't there really literally. If it wasn't so hot, I would have started sweating. My arm
that lets us know what road needs to be worked on, because
I better learn to anticipate that.
I was going to say real quick,
pig farmer, and I called the Grok to watch more. If things got really frustrating, I went in.
But brain farts could lead to.
For a few months, I wasn't working as an engineer, and so I'm going across like a
intersection.
Big. I was at our.
So what? Did somebody tell you they stopped roads that had come?
Like to come hang out. This perspective, and it seems like the coolest job I could have had. I mean, I could tell you about some of the anymore, or your brain.
It was worse than wicking the air fresheners, and there were
like you have to take matters into. You want someone to press go and then walk away. It got really a lackadaisical. Let's make this a break area.
He was like, yeah, okay, so
out of pity for the guy. There's a video going around.
I mean,
that's what.
Well, 3 minutes into a signal again, I get the closet. Darn it. There's something
to the park, and I got assigned to a section that had some kiddie rides, and then Crown Victoria.
I'm just saying, people go out and count traffic with little clickers.
Machine there. That one.
Pavement Management Division. It's exciting as it sounds. By the time I was 16, daydream waiting to happen. One of the things I'm trying to teach my kids now,
using only hand gestures. And I mean, he's not a mute. I mean, he can speak just like that. Everything was immaculate.
I mean, I remember when my dad, the supervisor, would sleep.
I'm gonna try. And then the way that you would stop it, there wasn't a stop button. You would take your foot off of the thing, and then self-absorbed by definition. These deals for me.
He didn't give you a police escort, did he?
No, he didn't. But I did have a
mumbling, grunting, and moving of hands, and then extreme frustration when
personally that you don't want to tell me about. I'm like, no, and I didn't want to tell her that.
And
Christmas when he comes back home. Okay, we_AL fourth
school. Okay, and don't look at the magazines that are stuffed into the pool. One step, don't turn around. The blueprints became
hazards. I mean, they're
like I'm making this up, but I'm not making it up. So we show up, and there's a foundation, and then putting plastic down.
The supervisor would assign me to my ride. Are you going to be on the Ladybug Home Builder? Trent was like the first. No amount of hand signals or words. Santa Cruz Beach.
All of our summer jobs.
Over time, about 4.
Mr. Fred, our builder.
10th, we're going to Connecticut, Foxwoods Resort Casino. So,
Go.
John phase.
Oh, thinking about Sarah John. Or was determining which section
Started crying.
for Trent's dad, Frankie Hamilton, construction. You know, I think the story here...
Just having a good time.
Right.
That's the point.
But
You're so close.
Like, play a few weeks. This job didn't last long. It was just like an introduction to what a job could be.
It might have been a Sarah, exactly what you've come to expect from Ear Biscuits now. And if you have a listen, and I'm Link. Thanks for joining us for this Ear Biscuit at the round
The roads. And then our job was just to go to intersections. And I mean, you
What do
can't
you
expect too much, right? So
the edge of town. It's not there anymore. It's
Since been torn down.
But that was
something like when we went being maid's house.
and that my uncle
Get away with this when there's two of you. If you interview yourself as an individual, communicate with each other. That's probably what you don't realize is that you were like three, but I never saw his brother. It was just him and some other dude, and then who wasn't his brother, in a house. And I probably got through
in the sticks. People would just make any old piece
out the plastic, the
where
vapor
was
barrier.
Trent?
Seconds.
Never,
that you want.
never stop learning. I mean, just because living's easy.
You know, the funny thing is a lot of times people
Pig farm, and it was these big long.
you are very tempted to have brain farts.
Hey, circle some nodes, yo. Just by
Really.
virtue of being a civil engineering major.
Well, just you two a race?
Fireworks. I would go outside and cut the hanging out with us in this Ear Biscuit. Leave us a review on the iTunes table of dim lighting communicating, and I would. It's
Oh,
just
really?
Very Barney Tobacco, and he scrapes his foot and draws a
Talking about, and I'm like, hold on, you haven't said anything.
in the pool table.
I'm like, what? He says, yeah, me and you, 217.
This particular time, just that one guy. I think the girl.
Rubber glove?
I don't recall that. I don't think we had.
78.
Yeah, and it's like all hardened, and you're like, "Ew, what is this?"
Yeah.
Brain fart.
But
and then one day I got tobacco poisoning. If the
And he was like, oh, yeah, my.
it's not.
I don't believe that.
It's up to me, and she's like, "Are you okay?"
And they would be like,
So you never saw her
when we you know, but I knew.
scooping out hot dog remnants. Now that's bad. I have to tell this one, just
Okay,
because this
yeah.
is the one I did the most. My
That division was responsible for.
like I said, I mean, when the chief of police negotiates your lawn, they hire me back as a contractor, kind of to like.
Actually, what ended up happening is my dad.
Train is filled to capacity, stopping the thing, subject to snapper riding long. I turned to everyone waiting in line. I'm like, one summer when I didn't work electric operated crane.
Building the. Sure, there were things happening with your body that made. I built another house. I'd like to go back and do that
We
again.
always were farmers.
But you're doing something with soybeans and other things. But that was the deal. That was North Carolina.
They'd slowly cook the tobacco over time.
Ideas. I was thinking about that. Something like your school's out or whatever. Walls. He's like, here's how you build a wall.
He was
Player,
like-
it wasn't more creative. It didn't call you soft. If there's a need around here, give me 14 2-inch long
Hartman and Hartman.
I would. I'd do a few updated.
Like somebody hand drew.
Somebody had come in and said, like, hey, here's
Like
race.
it was a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Really?
So I would get
Just a rack
just to put
miles on the
it.
odometer.
So I would just go where we grew up.
North Carolina. I just can't. I cannot do this. I can't be here for this. Truck and drive it to the places. Nah, I mean, the lawnmower is a form of transportation.
Just in your backyard, and you have a 1 foot.
Biggest regrets in life. I mean, it's
Well, you know what? You
it's
could
perspective.
You could be operating.
I backed away slowly. Basically, ran outside. It was like Chernette. He was
Chat rooms.
He was the only guy with this thing called the Internet of Town. Like
I remember seeing the house at State University. My summer job was to old school type air food today. But did you do that same job every day? We just showed up at this site and stuff that the construction workers had just thrown into the foundation. Especially if you're asking the questions and then answering them.
across the street, and I would cut Miss Alice's lawn, and then I would cut
What are we talking about? How much?
big strapping man. Big. What does that mean?
Well, first, I was hoping. I mean, the guy, all he got to do, talk about brain farts. I mean, this is a job where a little with some air that you were changing,
like they were getting sick. So now you talk about staring at the wall.
You've only done 17, huh? Well, just
6 of them.
And I don't know if Mr. Fred ever.
We never told our parents that Campbell and they would come over and buy baseball cards, but in order to know if you had a whole set, the pigs. They don't mate the pigs. They inseminate them. Ever get fired from a summer job? No, but I came pretty. I look over there. Keith is taking his first step, and he's buried his teeth
next to this dirt all day. I would
think he realized it was happening. It seemed very obvious to him what he was communicating. Years later, Ear Biscuits has become. So I think
I got to be the guy who held the slow stop sign, circle them, and then number them. Called them nodes.
In between
interviews
with YouTubers, like profile pieces, which is what Ear Biscuits was.
But I'd say my first job,
pigs.
Yeah,
okay.
You for some reason you have to do it for them.
Yeah. I'll just say it. Worst jobs I've ever had. And I'm
back. Wickman's back to end strong.
Soak in through your
Carolina and sort of daydreaming. I mean, lots of daydreaming.
Like staring at the wall.
Oh yeah, I was a daydreamer, buddy. And when
but I didn't have to mate pigs artificially, so anything's better than that.
That was
pigs. And what I had do, we were going to reminisce over in the back room. He said, "Just go back here," and he would throw all these baseball cards. It was like
I'm going to be talking about.
You went into the fall, so I don't call that technically a summer job, but I was
inefficient operation I've ever been involved with.
I mean, what didn't you have? Your supervisor was like
10 years old. This is really would have stood up and questioned a few things in the DOT. That's
you would be waiting.
Mm-hmm. And Frankie was a man who owned a lot. I don't remember all the details, but I know that I had worked it out with Trent that I wasn't going to.
And I'm like,
but I got to tell you, if I was already a
pretty girl that worked
being grown as a huge cash crop in North Carolina to Trinidad or something.
Really?
It could have been related.
So the money kind of went to
station. And the whole summer, we just every large person,
child labor type, grab big pieces of, and then I would pick up the thing and move it because it was just so
much. Smugglers, but sorters.
Then point and laugh at him.
I didn't say that.
Like the pee, a couple more days of vomit. I mean,
Evas, what do you have on?
Like
Sambas,
tennis shoes and shorts. I mean, tell
the summer because of academic performance.
Okay, so the lies cancel themselves out.
Yeah, right.
You neither. I mean, I don't remember, but anything but
Barnix or Ford F-150 pickup.
Go back in there, and I don't remember what he said the third time. It wasn't a hand signal, but there was something that was said. A landfill.
Oh yeah.
And CP&L wanted to clean it up. And the
think about how frustrated he was with me, and then and it helps me these days.
Yeah, I was a professional driver for the DOT. You 2-year-old by your father,
right? And if your cousin Keith challenged
charity,
well, I mean, I use
sickness.
So it's basically like
vomiting.
If you had to just smoke.
He liked to be mean to the chickens. That's as far as I'm going to go. Okay, he thought it was funny, but
I was struck. I ever since this job, I've had kind of fresheners that you find in the shelf of a elementary school in 19.
Yeah,
okay.
So I mean that's the last time I've.
Almost like a medicine bottle. We're actually taking a short break.
Mowing rate.
It was charitable, I'm sure, though.
He's packing heat.
Surely you weren't doing that good of a job, man. I was the wick man. I maybe there'll be something like that. But assuming that we're not going to have summer jobs again,
being a full adult,
we went back and kind of made up for that. But yeah, it was on the way to Western. You smoked.
Think of when you stared at the wall in the wick factory.
Oh, all kinds of things, man. Is just soccer boy or anything?
Not that I recall.
You're a soccer player.
But he was like, and one day he was like,
"Oh, in your eyes, he was like, I can't put this kid through this.
Do it.
I'm going to put him out."
And I get up there and
give the pig some privacy.
I meet him you to us. You know what I'm trying to say.
Get all this nasty trash, all the stew, and then Jerry would come back there and he'd catch me just, oh yeah, you're a dork. You wear Umbros.
He was a football player, like big, like linebacker type dude. Or spinny thing to it.
Oh, this is not a fun job.
So, and then you're not talking to anybody.
That we actually did together.
And it moved at about the pace of a...
I never smoked.
It's like my body smoked 6 packs a day.
Out on the street, shirts sideways, hang the shirts sideways.
or across Main Street, Lillington, to get to lawns on the other side.
Weird grocery store. It's got us in the back room sorting baseball cards.
I mean,
and he
had a small lawn.
He was trying
five steps. I'm like going full.
Was it like the Department of Transportation? Because I worked there, and it was the most.
Drinking
ninth grade now.
Fingers. I mean, he was still a huge guy.
I don't really know what my application is, but it's just
hard way. People vomited on my ride
all the time. Looking that up a second ago to figure out, when is summer? Summer is when school gets out.
In the bushes, but I have to say, okay, I think I had a glove, so you got to stay on that. But the
to mark your aging,
he's like, hey,
to 4482. That's a section
house, and I took him the tile, and he's like, Uncle Ross, his dad.
Is Keith still around somewhere?
He's